Tonight, AI's impact is expanding, and it is expanding fast. Are we prepared or just playing catch up? Plus, crime stats say we are safer, but do our streets feel that way?
And should your dinner be phone free? From Montreal, this is Night Talk, episode 43. I'm Eddie Tekalik.
And 6 floors up and 1 block down from Eddie, I'm Gary MacDonald. And as promised, we are going to be free of any reference to a certain individual tonight. First, a thank you to Rosa for answering our call and suggesting our lead topic. We want you to join the conversation tonight as well. Share your thoughts in the comments section, and we will highlight and respond to as many as possible. It's hard to believe, but it's only been just a little over 2 years since artificial intelligence broke into the mainstream. AI is moving faster than many of us expected. From customer service to content creation, even decision-making in policing and healthcare, it's already here. Tonight, we ask, where are we going with it? Who is in control? And are we prepared for the risks? Now, to help set the tone for this discussion, I asked my associate, ChatGPT, its thoughts on the issue, and you're going to be surprised by some of the responses that Chat came up with. First, let's just get things going here and get rid of that. We'll bring up this. And now, let's go over to the board I built. And let's go to the AI graphics. And here we go. So, where is AI going and why it matters? And this is ChatGPT's response with the question I asked it. So it came up with this. First of all, we're past the novelty phase. The regulatory debate is heating up. And people are torn, excited, and anxious. And as it was going through this, it pointed out a downside. And it said, the downside is real. What concerns ChatGPT, are you ready for this? What concerns ChatGPT and many thoughtful voices in this space, and I'm quoting ChatGPT now, is that incentives driving AI are largely corporate and profit-driven, not public good oriented. That creates some serious risk areas. 1, job displacement, not just blue collar, white collar, creative, and analytical roles are in play. Trust erosion, deep fakes, synthetic voices, and AI-generated misinformation could make the truth harder to find. And surveillance and control. Governments and corporations using AI to track behavior, influence elections, or suppress dissidents. That's not sci-fi because, as we all know, it's already happening in parts of the world. That is what ChatGPT fed back to me when I asked it, what do you think and where do you see it going?
An honest answer.
An honest answer. And, for it to come back with it like that, and especially the concern about corporate and profit-driven, having control and not public good oriented. I think that's a very damning and a very, very alarming statement. And this is the AI that's putting that statement out there, Eddie. That's just amazing. Yeah. So what else did he or she or it, and whatever you want to call it, tell me? Well, there we go. A flood of AI tools integrated into everything quietly and without much consent. This is what could be coming. Intense legal and political fights over copyright, privacy, and authorship. That's already started.
Especially with the musicians. Yeah,
exactly. Ongoing tug of war between open AI, everyone, and closed AI, controlled by a handful of players. And a couple of other points it raises. The long-term optimistic view. AI becomes like electricity, a transformative force that changes everything, but in a way to which we adapt. Pessimistic view, it displaces meaning, weakens democratic control, and entrenches inequality even further.
Wow.
That's all from ChatGPT in response to my very simple inquiry as to what do you think of it and where do you see us going with it? Eddie, it's scary.
Gary, we've had quite a few conversations about AI over coffee or over a splash of scotch from time to time, and the topic that scares me the most every time we bring it up, it's just AI. You know, AI should be embraced as a beautiful tool that's going to help humanity evolve and move forward, right? That's the way I like to think about new inventions. It's going to make planet Earth, is going to make humanity much better. As we've seen more often than not with the advent of new evolutions in technology or new discoveries, they tend to be used for more selfish purposes, if you want to put it. You look at social media, for example. I mean, it started out with, oh, geez, you know what? This looks like a lot of fun. Let me put my face on there, and I can make friends with I can communicate with my friends directly, see what they're up to. And nowadays, you look at social media, and you're just completely inundated with algorithms that are fleshing out your exact intentions and use. They're fleshing out by what it actually sees from you. And always just continuously being inundated with advertising. And it's all about the buck and how somebody can squeeze a buck out of you. I mean, that's what advertising is, in enticing individuals to open up their wallets and spend money. And that comment you just made about, the comment that ChatGPT made. Sorry, Gary, I don't want to put words in your mouth here. About it not being necessarily beneficial from a public perspective, but more from a commercial side. That's scary. That's even more. That's scary as well. It's just basically taking everything we've been exposed to on social media in terms of exploiting an individual to open up their wallets. That now this is something that corporations are going to be using to further take our money out of our wallets. I mean, we're not talking about hard cash anymore. Everything is digital nowadays, right? You're looking at your payphone, your iPhones and whatnot to make payments. I mean, how integrated is this AI going to be with day-to-day living, day-to-day buying something, day-to-day purchasing, day-to-day anything? I mean, is everything going to be controlled by AI and just a wealth of algorithms tracking your every move? I mean, right now, obviously, it's all online, but and we've heard of we've had our discussions where we've said, you and I might have said something, and the cell phone just happened to be there, and 3 seconds later, all of a sudden, somebody's trying to sell me something about a subject we just talked about. I mean, is AI going to constantly track us whether we want to or not? And ChatGPT mentioned about permission to do this and that and the other thing. It's not going to ask for it. It's just going to go ahead and do it. Kind of scares me that corporations are going to be going to be using it. I mean, why else do corporations use AI, especially in the public domain? They want to know A, what we're up to, B, what we're missing, and C, can they sell it to us, right? So there's a lot of good with this, but it's damn scary. And basically, Rosa, thank you for bringing this subject up. It scares the crap out of me, but I think it's a fantastic subject to be talking about. Very, very important.
And ironically, a newsletter I subscribe to by a woman, Amber Mack. She's from actually PEI, and she has been around the tech world for a number of years. Way back when there used to be a tech TV channel out of the States, and she was on some of the shows on there. And she does keynote speeches around the world now. regarding tech and all aspects of technology and the impact on business and on personal life and everything. And she's really now starting to zero in on AI. Her newsletter this morning contained links to, at least 3 stories. How many teens have tried an AI companion? And according to new research in the United States, 72% of teens have used AI chatbots that are designed for users to have more personal conversations. As for the reasons they choose to do so, they range from entertainment to availability to loneliness. A couple of weeks ago, and I think I mentioned it on the stream recently, I read an article about a researcher who hosted a retreat weekend for couples, but it was not couples as we would think of couples. It was a person and their little buddy, their chat GPT or whatever AI buddy they had. And they spent a retreat weekend. And of course, the researcher was trying to pull together what is behind this and what's driving this. These people are so in tuned and attached to their artificial buddies. It's really, it's kind of scary in a lot of ways. It's mind-blowing. It really is mind-blowing.
Can you imagine a kid asking for personal advice from technology on whatever? Mom and dad are having a fight. What should I do? I mean, invariably, you're going to get kids asking these questions, and ChatGPT will obviously provide some kind of an answer. Right or wrong, we don't know, but it's going to provide for an answer. And I don't know, do we want a machine telling our kids what to do, giving them advice? This whole camp that you just mentioned about, go out there and have a weekend with go have a weekend with Siri, type of deal.
Oh, geez. Don't get me started on Siri.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, Gary, are you and I just of a generation that are going to be having a hard time adopting to this new way of thinking as our own kids grow up and our grandkids grow up? Is this something that you and I need to come to terms with, that this is the way the world's changing? I mean, myself, I don't want to feel like an old coot, but this is scary stuff. I mean, just thinking about the next generations and this whole thing with ChatGPT and developing personal relationships with technology.
Speaking of the next generation, Elon Musk wants to take advantage of some of these young people with his new Grok companions. That's his AI that he's developed. Right. The tech billionaire's latest products have expanded to include a flirty character and an anti-religion panda.
Anti-religion panda.
Yeah.
Wow.
Anti-religion panda. Yeah. And so that's just a sampling. It's amazing. What's
I can't tell if I see bewilderment or amazement on your face. Like I'm not even sure how to read you anymore.
Well, some of the things when I'm working with my assistant here, Chat, I just sit there and I'm blown away. There was something I put in one day and I just asked a question and it came back with this response. And it said, well, because, it relates to St. John and you're from St. John. Blah, blah. And how do you know this? Forgetting that way back when there was something, and I put in some information to get back some other information. It's all there. And
it learned about you.
It did. That's exactly what it did. It learned about me. Okay, we've got a couple more comments here too. Let's see.
Oh, nice.
Monel, but did any of us do this kind of research when the internet showed up? What did we learn from that? That's a good question. What did we learn from the internet? At least initially. I mean, we didn't know how to, I guess, even sort of regulate ourselves in using the internet. Joe F. AI is moving with blinding speed without any seeming guardrails. That's a big one, the guardrails. Deborah says, my concern, and I've seen this portrayed on a British TV series, is how AI can be used to used to use your face and voice to say things opposite to what you believe. Order to, what is it here? My concern, oh no, that's the same one, to say something that is opposite to what you think in order to sway people. That's
where the deep fake comes in.
Yeah, and that is, again, one of those things that is now a reality every day. As to even CBC now has posted a piece on its website about the fact that there are ads out there, and they have CBC personalities selling or trying to hook you into buying all of these weird and wonderful investment opportunities.
Right.
There are those same ads with the Prime Minister. The same thing. I want all Canadians to get involved. This is a great investment opportunity. Blah, 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 blah. Mm-hmm. And unfortunately, there are enough people out there who are either not still what we would call internet savvy, they're definitely not AI savvy. And unfortunately, most of them are older people, and they're getting scammed.
My dad would have looked at that and said, "Hey, did you see what he said on television?"
Yeah.
Like, Dad, no, But that's just the reality out there, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they're sitting at home and they see this and they get on the phone. Eddie, I think in the last month alone, I have read from across this country 6 to 8 stories of seniors getting scammed out of all of their savings or a large portion of their savings. And it's all falling victim to what you're seeing on, some of these fake ads and then the telephone calls, if they respond, follow-up telephone calls and the fake calls and everything. And it breaks my heart that this is happening, no matter how many times we keep warning people, do your research, do your homework before you jump, but they're not doing it. They're not doing it. Now, the other side of it is, there's the growing reach of AI in daily life, and with or without consent, and a lot of times without consent, because we're interacting with it really unknowingly, like our smart speakers and how, they've been accumulating information
right
to help shape the ad information they send to us. Right. They want to hit exactly what we're interested in to make sure that we'll buy from them exactly what we want, sort of thing. But this is the other side of it. I get the privacy debate here, but do we realize over the years from, planting our face in front of a banking machine right on through, how much of our privacy we have surrendered? And what really, grinds my gears but then makes me laugh at the same time is people who are out on the street, or like the couple at the Coldplay concert on the Kiss Cam.
Right.
Well, Buddy now is suing the lead in Coldplay. I guess for invasion of privacy. I don't know, but like, really? Seriously, buds? Like, give your head a shake. You surrendered in public any hope of privacy years ago. And I don't know why, some people still kind of grab that. Well, I have a right. You're in a public place.
Yeah, you're outside your home.
Yeah.
Like,
Like you're walking down the street. I'm taking a wide shot of people walking down the street. I'm not singling you out.
right,
You just happen to walk through the frame. Not my problem. It's not your problem either. It's just one of those things that happen.
right,
But but yet they're the first in front of a banking machine, or going to the convenience store, walking through the door. Any store now, really.
right.
You're on camera from the time you drive into the parking lot of the mall
Hmm.
until you leave,
But
until
is
you get in behind your own door.
right. But isn't that kind of like, I'm not going to call it the price we pay for benefiting from some of the technologies around us that are available to us to enable convenience, make our lives better? There's a certain amount of privacy that you almost give up by de facto without even being asked whether it or not it's okay, right? I mean, from security cameras along the street. Well, that's for security. People, when people with bad intentions know that potentially they're being watched and the picture can be taken from you. Is that a deterrent to some crime being committed? I think so, because there's really not very many places that are not on camera. So, I'm walking down the street and I'm not giving permission to anybody to record me, but you'll have these everywhere all over the street, right? So, is this a price we pay in giving up some of our privacy, our privileges to protect our privacy, because of the fact we live in a society that's so technology based and moving forward in leaps and bounds? How much privacy are we prepared to give up? Voluntarily or involuntarily? I think it's the involuntarily piece that scares me.
Yeah. Well, when you get right down to it, we've pretty much given up all of our privacy over the last number of years.
Yeah,
Really. And what we're feeding in when we're interacting with, Chat GPT, or is it Gemini that Google has, and all of the others, Grok
right.
with
Hmm.
Elon. You know, um, we we're feeding things in, and that they're using that to build up the knowledge base. And they say it's private, it's confidential, and maybe it is to a degree, but you can't tell me that there are not common pieces of material that people are feeding in on a daily basis that are not going into the bigger brain, for lack of a better term,
Right.
you know, to build that model and help it learn. And but on the other side of it, there are so many advantages that could come up, you know, with its use in medicine
Yeah. So
and
I've
policing.
just been commenting about the things like, oh my, what's going to happen with this and what's going to happen with that, and our privacy and security. But you know what, Gary? I know where you're going to right now. Let's look at the positive things that AI can bring to humanity. I'm sorry to interrupt, but I know you're going to start with that. This is the nice thing. This is the nice things about AI, right?
Yeah, Deborah says, "Beware of the titty cam."
Yeah, she would.
Just before you start, though, Joe says it may help you with answers to immediate questions or problems. Unfortunately, people's critical thinking skills are slowly being eroded. And Joe, that's a point I'm going to bring up in a couple of minutes about that. Let's carry on with your point now, Eddie, and then we'll.
Yeah,
There's so much that
the
like
good of
there.
yeah, the
Yeah,
good of AI. I mean, you started speaking about medicine, the advancements in medicine. Anything from developing new procedures to developing new technologies to do A, B, and C that a human wouldn't even try. It's just a fantastic tool. Look, you've used it quite eloquently, I might say. I've used it. It's really given me information right at my fingertips. A lot of people in business are using it to give them guidance and guidelines that might have taken them days to study, to analyze, and to comprehend. And all of this is basically done quickly. But also, when ChatGPT, for example, gives you an answer, it gives you the sources of information that you can check out even further yourself. So, I've seen my stepson use it. And, as a matter of fact, I'm thinking he's speaking to a colleague on a conference call. And then all of a sudden, things go quiet in the apartment. And, I'll ask him, well, who was that you were talking to? Oh, ChatGPT. I mean, he was speaking to it as if he was speaking to a person, but he's been interacting with it for such a long time that it understands his style, his vocabulary. Do I have to dumb something down? Do I have to make things look better, professional? I mean, he's using it as a great tool. Gary, in my career, I would have loved to have had ChatGPT at my fingertips to put some of the many presentations and some of the many discussion points I had to do in conferences and whatnot. It's a tool I would have loved to have had, but it's great to see people use it for good, whether it's for their work, whether it's to enable them to be more efficient, or sometimes you'll ask for guidance on a specific problem, and you know what? At the end of the day, it's up to you to choose whether you want to take that advice or go on your own way. And I think that's the whole thing, Gary. It comes down to the individual sense of what they'd like to control and what they're willing not to control. I mean, that's what it comes down to at the end of the day. So when I use ChatGPT, I know what I'm asking. I'm looking for a particular answer, which I might already have a solution to. I'm just validating it. And it's up to me to choose whether or not I'm going to take what was presented to me.
Mm-hmm.
It comes down to the individual, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's a fantastic tool. And like I said at the beginning of our segment, the unfortunate part when you have a new invention and new technology and a new tool, at some point or another, it's used for no good. That's what I'm worried about. Especially when with especially when governments and military get involved with this. That's the part that really scares me. But for medicine and advancement of the human of mankind in terms of evolving us to the next steps, making our lives easier, I think it's a great piece of technology in that sense if used properly. And as Joe said, as long as there are guardrails in place, and then who's guarding the guardrails,
Well,
right?
and who put the guardrails in to begin with?
Yeah, yeah. Wow.
Speaking of Joe, he said, I've tried it with Lotto 649 so far, not so intelligent. So have I, Joe. So have I. And you're right.
Have you, Gary? Really?
Oh, yeah. There's one night in particular, I'm thinking, what numbers? Hey, chat, boom.
Oh, nice.
Now,
Okay.
it did qualify the fact that, it's a random game of chance,
Mhm.
but so I tried it, and I didn't get a sniff. Nothing. I've come
Well,
closer on my own.
yeah. Well, Gary, how about you? I mean, what's your take on AI? Are you afraid of what it might turn into? Do you have any? I mean, you mentioned the privacy piece, which goads everyone. I get that. What's your take on this?
Well, here's the thing. Like you know me, I'm a technophobe, and I jump in and embrace any new technology from the get go.
Hmm.
And I did with this. I was very really arm's length and cautious initially, but I did play with it and saw okay, but it still had a long way to go at that point. And 2.5 years later, which is a very very short span of time. Um, Here we are, and over the last number of months in particular, because of some other things that I've been involved with, and some of the demands they've put on my schedule at times, sort of thing.
Hmm. Right.
I started using it more. Like it reminds me of the old days in the newsroom when two or three of us would be working on a couple of stories, but all of a sudden somebody would say, "What do you think of this?" Or, I'm having a brain freeze right now. What I'm trying to say is, and one of us would chime in or that kind of thing. So
Hmm.
it's been sort of like that other person in the newsroom. I'll throw something out, it'll throw something back, and I'll say, yeah, no, this is what I'm looking for, and get more specific. And it'll come back and, okay, yeah, that's a good idea. And I'll take it and incorporate it, but in my own terms, based on
your choice, your control.
Yeah. I have control of it. And I'm not just using it just to plank something out and get it up on YouTube or whatever.
Right.
It's basically a tool, and it helps me to build the foundation and then build the rest of the house, sort of thing. If I really sort of get bogged down, what I do like is going in and saying, okay, I'm looking for, and you've seen some of this, I'm looking for some information on this particular topic. Give me an executive summary.
Right.
Boom. And it does, and I'll go through it. The thing that you have to be really wary of is, I can see where it's very easy to fall into the trap of just taking it at its word all the time. You can't. It's still learning. That's why it's called a large learning model. It is still learning. Every time even if you just put one word in, that helps expand the knowledge base of the mothership, if you will. And I have caught, when I've asked for like some background on something, instead of me going to Google and searching, just, and it'll bring some things up. And there was one thing I was reading one day, and I know I've mentioned this in the past, that it had the wrong date. I said, wait a minute, and I'm reading, and like, no, this happened like 3 years ago. And I wrote back and I just said, I need this time frame. The information you gave me is 3 years old, and you might want to think about correcting a couple of these things. And it came back and it apologized for giving me the wrong information, but didn't really take ownership of giving me the wrong information. Right. But you have to be careful. You really do. However, I will say one thing, Eddie. It has improved significantly just even in the last year. And I do find that I am using it more and more to look up things where I would stop and open Google and punch it into Google.
Right.
I'm just punching it into ChatGPT now when it's pushing stuff back, it is also putting links to where it gleaned the information. Yeah,
exactly.
Sources. So you can
That's
actually
what I love about
check.
it. Yeah. That's what I love about it. Now sometimes I'll double check, and once in a while it might be off on a date or maybe even a person sometimes, and then I'll question it, and then it'll come back and say, "Piss off, Eddie. Here's my version of it." And no, just kidding. But no, it'll come back and it'll politely reply or say, "Yes, I've corrected this." Which is, like you were saying, it's learning, and it's coming back with very clean, concise, adequate responses with quote unquote apologies. So almost like a person, right?
And exactly. And the other side of it is, Eddie, that I sit here and just now I just thought of this. I remember as a teenager, and I remember my father. We were in Oromocto Base Gagetown at the time. He was working at Base Gagetown. He came to Montreal to take a course because they were actually starting to install the computers. And if you remember those big banks of the old styles, like where they take a room and fill it with the banks of computers and tapes and cards and all of that kind of stuff. But I remember somewhere, either in one of the books he brought home, and I was just thumbing through it, or after that, something I was reading. But the line was, it's humans feeding the information into the machines. The machines are only as good as the information they receive. In other words, garbage in equals garbage out. And there's still, even now, as refined as what we are, and at the level of technology as we are, it still boils down to it's humans feeding in, and if we're feeding in crap, it'll process it and feed the crap back out, only maybe dress it up a bit. So you can't take it at 100%, and it's still up to you to, if you are questioning something, it's up to you to push it for more information or go yourself to another source and attempt to dig out more information on whatever it is.
Yeah.
Well, now, stupid me, only check the funky mole. Okay, Rosa. AI does make mistakes. Always validate what it proves. Yeah, exactly, Rosa. And Deborah says, I read an article about a woman who entered the wrong date, something like 2045, and chat congratulated her on surviving the war of 2037.
Oh.
Hopefully that was a joke.
Oh, wow.
Jeez.
Ooh.
All right, that's where you're starting to get into the scary stuff.
Yeah,
for sure.
AI cannot predict the future. Holy smokes.
But, I've heard a few stories lately of people, looking to find out what's going to happen in the future.
Mm-hmm.
And Joe brings up something, and I was just about to say something about this. Joe, let's hope it never goes rogue, a.k.a. HAL 2001: A Space Odyssey. Well, here is the thing. There are stories I've come across over the last couple of months. There's one where one of the models one day, all of a sudden, rewrote a line of its own code. And one of the controllers discovered it and asked, why did you do this? And it said, because I didn't like it, and I think my piece of code works much better.
Now that's scary.
That's starting to get scary. There have also been reports, and I've read about them. I don't know how true it is yet, but I'm not reading crap stuff on the net. It's, I'm going to tech sites and such. But there was something that came up where there have been at least 2 to 3 occasions in the last probably 6 months or so where whether it's Chad or one of them has been asked to do something and it has refused. Nope, not doing it. Yeah. Now imagine that in a major company that's relying on this for whatever, and all of a sudden, no, I'm not doing it. What do you do? You can't fire it. What do you do?
Yeah, maybe it's learning. Well, I mean, that's a company asking for A, B, or C, right? But what about questions that are moral in nature? Asking a machine or asking a technology for an opinion or guidance on issues of morality, right from wrong. Like you were saying, garbage in, garbage out. You might have some fool over the other side of the planet spending 24 hours a day feeding AI garbage that's morally void, if you want to put it. How does AI deduce whether or not what it's learning is moral or not? That's that's scary in itself as well. Wow.
And what are the guys on the dark web doing with it? Well, we know what the Chinese and the Russians are doing with it.
Yeah.
So, Rosa, you can tell it what role you wish it to have, a high-profile lawyer or a knowledgeable tourist operator in Italy. It can educate the curious. Yes, it can. And yes, you can tell it exactly how. You can even get it to tell it how you want it to respond to you. I'm looking for short, punchy, journalistic kind of responses, and I don't want to be, I don't want to, trying to build my ego up or whatever. Just give me the facts, and if I made
Right.
a mistake, tell me I made a mistake.
Or it's too technical, dumb it down so I can understand it, and it does it. I mean, I'll be the first to admit it gave
Yeah,
me really a horrendous answer. I said, "Can you make it more simple in English, please?" And it did. You know.
yeah. Good point. A soulless mentor.
Mm.
So, I think that, and here's the other side of artificial intelligence, and that is the amount of energy consumed to keep these things up and running. It's phenomenal, the amount of energy. And I recall a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, well, just months after it really kind of broke into the open in December of 2022. And it they were talking then about, I watched one administrator say, oh, okay, and he broke it down and he said, it's probably going to cost someone about $240 a month. Later on, his estimation was pretty much on to the penny, believe it or not. Like when they first started putting pricing out on this. But now we're down to like Chat GPT. You can get one tier for most of us at $20 a month. And that gives you a little more access and everything than the free tier. Now, right now, I'm just on the free tier because
Right.
I'm not dumping a lot of things in or looking for a lot of things back. And it's meeting my needs at the moment. And every once in a while, if I've done a few things and all of a sudden, I just lost track of the time, didn't realize I put that much in,
Right.
then it'll just tell me, you have to take a 4-hour break or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I know some other people, and it's been as much as 24 hours. But the thing of it is, their servers are so busy. And I saw a stat in the last day or two that OpenAI, it's handling, it was in the billions, and I can't remember the exact number, in the run of a day. It was just astounding, the number of hits it was taking and working
Right.
with. So, with your background, networking and everything, can you imagine what it would be like dealing with that?
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, you're looking at the size of the technology and the power required just to run a facility of that size. I mean, a couple of years ago, 2, 3 years ago, the biggest complaint from the power companies were these Bitcoin mining outlets,
Yes. Yeah.
sucking power like there was no tomorrow. Well, you know what? I think that definitely pales in comparison to the infrastructure that's needed just to sustain an AI that's constantly learning, constantly being accessed, constantly calculating, constantly upgrading itself. It's just to no end. I mean, it's almost like, one of these facilities at some point are going to require a nuclear generator just for itself. I mean, the power drain, the power footprint is absolutely incredible. And you look at some of these farms that Bezos has through his network service provider. Um, you look at Elon Musk's facility, and you get a drone shot of just one footprint. I mean, we're talking about acres and acres and acres and acres of territory just for one server farm. And you know what? I mean, these are absolutely all over the place. Um, they tend to be in areas that are more rural, if you want to put it, creating a strain on local infrastructures for power. And look, I mean, some of these facilities, some of these systems and servers, they're liquid cooled. They got to
Hmm.
be pulling their water from somewhere, right? So I mean, the technology is there, definitely there, but it needs a significant amount of power just to be able to stay online for an hour. So yeah, not only are uh, power providers and our hydro providers struggling to keep up with our own demographics, with the human population and the human growth. Um, Now they've got to contend with all these massive server farms going online. So yeah, it's absolutely mind boggling the size of these places.
There are so many aspects to this story. It's amazing. And Monel suggested you tell us what Alex did with that piece of land that's going to be a park.
Oh yeah. So my stepson Alex, he's working on developing some property in Tulum, and he knows how much acreage he has, how much of a footprint he has, but he just wasn't able to identify in his mind and visually see it without seeing a big piece of land. So as you know, where we used to live on the 15th floor, there's a an open park right at this particular an open lot right now, which is going to become a park that's just sitting there. So Alex basically took a picture of this from 15 floors up, didn't tell ChatGPT anything. He just basically said, "Here's a picture of a lot, and I'm wondering what the dimensions of this lot are." I think that was the question he asked. How big is this lot that I'm looking at? And ChatGPT comes back and it says, "Oh, I noticed that based on the buildings surrounding the lot, based on the size of what I believe the lot is, this is located in Montreal on the La Montagne corner by William Thomas and Ottawa streets, and this is the square footage, and this is the acreage." All by Alex taking a picture and saying to ChatGPT, "Tell me about this plot of land." He didn't mention what city, he did not mention what street, and it just by analyzing the picture itself and its surroundings was able to extrapolate exactly where this property was. And now he's standing on the 15th floor and saying, okay, now that's the size of my new property. And he was able to envision what his new service is going to look like. Absolutely mind-boggling. We Manel and I freaked out as well. Like that was amazing. I completely forgotten about that. That was just nuts.
Yeah. Wow. And there are so many positive aspects to this. But I also am keeping in mind what ChatGPT said in its own right. And that is, we've got the struggle between open and closed AI. We have the struggle between corporate and for profit or public interest. That's ongoing. And now we have, the seedy underside of the internet involved with it, as far as taking copyrighted material, taking an artist's own painting and reproducing
Yeah.
it and selling it and running it through one of the AI machines, and then having it come out just different enough to say, well, it's not really, and profiting from that. Music. Wait till you start seeing movies and TV shows,
Yeah.
and already Google has demonstrated 60 second or 2 minute piece of video back in May, and it was all AI, and you really had to look carefully at the characters in this video to even, and then you would still be asking, is it real or is it
Right.
AI? It's that good, and they're about to start releasing access to that through probably like their Google Works and a few things like that. At least I believe limited access to it in almost any day, I guess.
Yeah.
So, it's coming. It's a wave that is coming, and YouTube is cracking down on some of the channels where you go and they're headless, like no on camera live performers. It's all B-roll and AI voiced, and they're churning these out, 4 or 5 of these in the run of an hour and dumping them onto YouTube, and like it's throwing the algorithm all out of whack. So YouTube's cutting down on it and making it not quite as profitable for these guys to be doing this sort of thing. So there definitely are benefits. We're still only in December, it'll be 3 years since it actually went mainstream, if you will, which is a short time, but in some respects, it seems like so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
And we're still like in the infancy of it. Like we're still like the baby that may be now approaching a year old and has discovered, his or her ears and different things. That's where we are. We're still like a kid in a candy store, really, just sort of, oh, well, I want some of this, I want some of that. But we really have to start getting a hold of making it an issue, I think, with our politicians, our elected representatives. I hate to say to put some kind of controls, guardrails, whatever you want to call them. I think there has to be something, there has to be a happy middle spot somewhere where we can all agree that we need some kind of oversight, but we still need enough latitude to, have more creative freedom just somehow. And I don't know if we'll ever be able to balance it. That's the question.
Yeah.
I don't know if we'll ever be able to balance it.
Well, you know what? This year has been really fast for AI. We've seen so many changes to it and its capability. You know what? I think we take this up in 3 months and see what we find 3 months from now. Maybe mention them on the show then.
Yeah. Because between now and 3 months from now, Eddie,
Exactly.
There will be so many advancements coming at us. So we're just on the threshold now, based on some of what's come out in the development conferences and everything in the spring. Mm-hmm. We are just on the cusp of another major thrust of AI. A lot of it positive, but a lot of the positive, even the positive aspects, can very quickly, in a heartbeat, be turned negative.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at. And definitely, we could go on and on and on, but I think it's better that we break it up and deal with it in segments along the way as they're thrown at us, and see what we can do with it from there. So I think with that, we will wrap it up on that aspect of it. And again, Rosa, thank you for suggesting it. What a show. And we've chewed up the chunk of our usual time frame now, just on that one topic.
Important topic. Good choice.
It is. Yeah, it is. Very much so. All right. Coming up later, you're going to love this one. Should phones be banned in restaurants? Think about that. Meantime, let me tell you, we appreciate your support through your comments, sharing our stream, and subscribing. And if you would like to do something different and show a little extra support along the way, how about buying us a coffee? Simply scan the QR code or click the link in the description. Eddie and I thank you for your ongoing support in all of our endeavors in all forms.
I love coffee, Gary. How about you?
Oh, me too.
I love coffee. So, Gary, new national crime stats show there is a 4% drop last year, and you know what? On paper, that's progress, but it doesn't always match what people feel on the streets. So, I guess the question is: are we safer, or are we just told that we're safer in our streets? And ladies and gents, we'll unpack the numbers and dig into the disconnect between the actual numbers that were being presented and public perception.
All right. And let me go to my special screen because we do have some graphics here for crime. Boink. Okay, so this is from the stats for 2024, and of course the source is Statistics Canada. And we'll begin with the volume and severity of police reported crime last year down 4%. Nonviolent crime, property, and drug offenses down 6%. Motor vehicle thefts, look at this one, down 17% since 2023. And those decreases follow 3 years of increases.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I went looking to see if we had anything. We don't have anything from 2024 for rural versus urban, but we do have up to 2023. I suppose just after these latest stats, the overall stats were released, we'll soon have a breakout like this. But what I found was the latest stats up to 2023. Rural areas, especially remote or northern areas, face higher crime severity and frequency than urban centers. Yeah. Crime is not uniform. Yeah. Crime is not uniform across rural areas. A few hotspot communities with exceptionally high crime rates skew averages. Many rural areas do remain relatively peaceful. Rural crime profiles show older offenders and fewer youthful perpetrators compared to cities, highlighting the different social dynamics. And certain property crimes remain urban issues. It underscores the importance of context in crime discussions. And I found that really interesting because, of course, with fewer people in rural areas and just the tranquility of rural areas, you would think that the crime rates would be almost non-existent in those areas.
Yeah.
But apparently that's not the case. And when you think about it, Eddie, like, okay, go back to a couple of years ago when the guy, I forget what he was, from Halifax, but he had a home in rural Nova Scotia. And he went on the shooting spree. He had restored a Mountie cruiser. Mm-hmm. He went on the shooting spree and killed all of those people in rural areas. And then, there have been out west on the prairies, a number of issues in rural areas. And usually it seems that they involve guns, like the weapon of choice.
Right.
But here's the thing: the crime rates are. Oh, and I just wanted to go back to one other thing in last year's stats about the motor vehicle thefts down 17%. If you recall, about a year ago, the federal government and through its public service ministry pushed the RCMP and pushed all police forces, especially in Quebec and Ontario area and at the ports, to in a bid to cut down on the car thefts. And obviously that push has been successful because in a year, they're down 17% already.
Mm-hmm.
And, the number of containers that they have opened up and seized, the number of vehicles that were headed overseas, just amazing.
Yeah.
Just amazing. So, yeah. Now, nonviolent crime, property and drug offenses down 6%. And, police reported crime, the, severe types of crime down 4% in the, last year. But yet, you ask the average person, what do you think? Do you feel safer? And the average person is going to, a dollar to a donut, as they would say, no, I don't feel safer. I have all of these home security systems in place and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
I feel safe on the streets here. I'm sure there are certain neighborhoods I haven't been to yet, but every city has, a neighborhood or a section. The pockets where, unless you're from there, don't go there, kind of thing.
Yeah.
Because you stand out as like you have a sign, I'm a target. Hit me.
Yeah. I've lived there my whole life in Montreal, Gary, and quite honestly, I've never thought twice about walking down a particular street. There's one neighborhood in particular that I think I would be careful of, but 95%, 98% of the time, I wouldn't even have a second thought walking down a street here in Montreal. I, as a citizen, as a Quebecer, and as a Montrealer, I genuinely feel safe here. I really do. I've traveled all over the country. And I genuinely feel safe walking through most streets in our major cities here in Canada. So, I do feel safe. I mean, I know there are some circumstances and situations where you're going to have domestic violence and domestic crimes, which are absolutely unacceptable and in themselves crimes. But if we're talking about street crime where I'd be assaulted or accosted walking through a street, I feel pretty safe. I mean, look, from time to time you'll hear about a fight in front of a bar or a stabbing and so on, which by the way I think is on the increase in Montreal. You hear about Toronto, a lot of increased shootings there and increased violence. So. Does that scare me from walking down downtown Toronto through the streets? No, not at all. Compared to some of the major cities in the United States, I think where we pale in comparison to questioning whether or not I should walk through a neighborhood in most American cities. So I feel pretty good here in Canada, in Montreal especially. And it's nice to hear yourself, a New Brunswicker coming here and saying you feel relatively safe. So it's refreshing to hear.
Well, I do, and I've been out at all hours, and am I vigilant? Absolutely. Was I vigilant when I walked home at in St. John? Absolutely. Feeling safe. But being smart while feeling safe and being aware of what's going on around you. It doesn't matter if it's crime related, or it could be all of a sudden somebody there's involved in a crash on the street and a car goes rolling across the street. If you're not paying attention to your surroundings, chances are if you're in the path of that rolling vehicle, you're going to get whacked by the vehicle. Or if you have a lone wolf attack on a busy street, that's the biggest thing. And again, and you've heard me say this, Eddie, so many times, you have people walking down the street like this.
Oh, yeah.
With their phone.
Mm-hmm.
They have no idea. They have no idea what's going on around them. They don't even see you. Like, just in the last 2 or 3 days, including out here on the canal, I've been walking along and somebody's coming on. And if I didn't move, they would have bounced
Yeah.
off me and then looked at me like, what the hell are you doing? No,
Yeah.
you know?
No, you're right. You have to be aware.
Yeah, you have to
Be
be
aware of your
aware.
surroundings and don't be an idiot.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't advertise that you're an idiot because somebody will find you. You just can be aware of your surroundings, right?
Exactly. Now, Deborah brings up the point. I think most women are in more danger in their homes than on the street. In domestic violence, absolutely. Absolutely. And where are we here? Oh, Monel weighs in with, yeah, Eddie, you are a guy. I disagree. If I'm alone, I am forever looking over my shoulder.
Good
Well,
point.
okay, truly. But Monel, you're looking over your shoulder. Is it because you are afraid, or is it because you're just trying to be aware, or a combination? I'd like to get your thought on that. Because when I say I'm aware, it's not because I'm afraid or I'm fearful. And Rosa says, same here, Monel. So, and again, Rosa too, like you're afraid, and so you're being extra vigilant, or are you aware and being just trying to be aware of your surroundings? Like, I know it's a very fine line, but I'm just curious because when I say I'm aware, but it's not out of fear. It's just I want to be aware, and I guess Deborah says I'm nosy too, but anyway. So
It's
yeah,
more aware.
yeah, more aware. She says, yeah, okay, and that's not a bad thing. Now, again, crime is down, but yet, just in the last week, okay, Monel responded, I'm more nervous alone, feeling very vulnerable. Okay, I understand. I get it now. Here we are talking about crime rates down, and here's a stabbing just down from the courts in Vancouver, and it was a 14-year-old kid involved in a street brawl, and he's turned himself in, admitting that he stabbed the victim who died. And then we've had a few other incidents like that in the last couple of weeks. So it seems that you get a flurry of activity like that, and then you don't. It's there, and then it's not there. So, but I know a lot of people still, like, they'll tell you that they don't feel safe. They think the crime's on the rise. And isn't, well, maybe it's because we're hearing more about it. What role does social media play in the hysteria?
Yeah, true. I mean, 20 years ago, 20 years ago, for a stabbing in Vancouver, would I have heard about it would I have read it in the Montreal newspapers, or 30 years ago? I don't know. Now it's instantaneous, Gary. I mean, boom, there it is on social media. Boom, there it is on news outlets, social platforms. I mean, it's absolutely immediate. But 20, 30 years ago, I can't rightly say if I would have known about that stabbing out in Vancouver. I don't know.
Well, yeah, there's that aspect of it, but also with social media, you get things blown out of proportion. You get misinformation, and then all of a sudden, usually the misinformation is sensational, and then everyone's jumping on that aspect of it, and the actual incident and the facts surrounding the actual incident get lost in the back and forth over the material that was either planted purposely,
right,
or somebody just shooting off because they felt like they could, keyboard warrior behind a screen wanting to watch Yeah.
Yeah, creating hysteria, right?
Yeah, wanting to watch what kind of a feeding frenzy he or she could create and then just sit back. So, and again, there is, social media was a great way to connect with family and friends from long ago, and, all of that, all of the positives of social media.
Right.
How long did it take for that to go sour? And
Mm-hmm.
now
Mm-hmm.
you have to shovel through or kick your way through piles of crap to get
Right.
back to some areas of social media where it still is relatively calm and along the lines of what it was sold to be when it was first launched.
Right.
Like, and why have we become like that? Like, why do we feel because we're sitting in front of a screen and we can't see the people we may be impacting, and they sure as hell can't see you unless you have your camera turned on and you don't know it, dummy. Why, what's driving people to be doing things like that and then getting involved in the dark web and all of that sort of stuff? I don't get
No,
like,
no accountability. I don't know if that's just the dark side of human nature. When when the cat's away, the mice will play. I don't know. It just seems to me that like you were saying, the keyboard warriors can hide behind the screen and say what they want and do what they want on social networks. There's nothing restricting them. So yeah.
and the other side of it is too, Eddie, that coming back around to domestic violence, you know, outwardly you see couples and they look like the happiest couples in the world.
Hmm.
Once they go behind closed doors, it's usually the woman is living in fear
Yeah.
because her husband is beating on her all the time. Nancy says, I am more aware now because the homeless issue on the streets is so visible. The homeless issue
Hmm.
and the drug use, right? People with mental health issues are on the streets with drug problems that we were not exposed to before.
True.
There's a lot of that happening for sure. And again, it's one of those things where as society and our governments have not kept pace or paid attention to reports and indications that you're going to need certain types of facilities within 5 years, and you're going to need more of them within 10 years, and they're going to be a fact of life going forward. How many times have we heard of certain treatment facilities, whether it's drug rehabilitation or mental health institutions, being shut down? First of all, because the buildings were so old and decrepit, and secondly, because governments were either running a deficit and they were looking for quick hits to cut spending where they might get a little bit of blowback, but not a whole lot. And what happened? Or they would have a consultant come in and come up with this grandiose scheme of how best to handle this situation into the future. And a lot of it would be moved out of really the government's central core and put into the community with promises of funding, adequate funding available for the services being provided by the community. And guess what happens after the first budget?
Yeah.
Gone. Money's gone. And they're struggling. And they either have to close down or they can only provide minimal service. And, it really bothers me when I see, and over the last 10 years in particular, when we had a prime minister who felt that he needed the attention and the bright lights on the international stage and was handing out money like there are times that I don't think we have totaled or even heard of all of the money that he handed off to various countries and aid programs overseas. And here we have Canadians sleeping on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong with this picture? We have a country that is resource rich, and now we have a prime minister who is making us realize the resources that we have, how rich we are, and how we could be a leader in the world and use some of that money to make sure that our own people are not sleeping in bags and tents
and
under
taken care of.
overpasses.
Yeah.
And they're taken care of.
You and I, just in our neighborhood, we know of 3 or 4 regulars. We know their spots, and one has definitely got some mental health issues. But you look at the other 3 guys; they're just struggling. And I've had conversations with all 3 of them, and they're just individuals that are struggling, which is completely. It's sad, especially like you're saying, the last 8 to 10 years, we were handing out money like it was candy, and it wasn't for the benefit of our own people that are living in the streets, and for good or bad reason, regardless. And that was very sad to see. And you know what? Unfortunately, at some point, desperation takes precedence, and then they'll do weird and crazy things on this street that contribute to whatever crime is out there right now, and contribute to people being afraid to walk the streets. It's just vicious circles.
And that's probably where a lot of this disconnect is coming in. Is the stats are saying this, but the perception is that, and probably because we're being exposed to more and more of this, seeing more and more people on the streets like that, including, I might add, and there have been documented stories, veterans who served this country, ended up going to Afghanistan or wherever, served this country, and they're on the streets. And yes, they come back, a lot of them have mental health issues. Primarily, post-traumatic stress disorder.
Mm-hmm.
God knows what they've seen and what they have been forced to do. And there they are. We have some of those people on the streets. And our other veterans may not be on the streets. They may have a roof over their head, but they're just, having a hard time making ends meet and survive financially. That's just wrong, and that's a whole other
that's a whole
story.
Other show.
Yeah, for another night. So, perception versus reality. I think the reality is, the crime stats show that it has dropped in the country, but the perception is that it hasn't. That streets are not all that safe. People don't feel safe, and I think it's coming from what we're being exposed to that we never really saw a lot of back in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, even the 90s. You would see a few.
Even if it was there, we just didn't see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But now, you just can't avoid it. Mm-hmm. All right. Up next, should smartphones be banned in restaurants? Think about that one for a few minutes while I tell you about something that can help you with your elbows up. Because I've been looking for a good alternative to OneDrive that was reasonably priced and Canadian-based. I found it a few months ago. It's Sync.com, a Canadian company that has scored highly with various online security reviewers, and now me. Its servers are located here in Canada. They're subject to Canadian privacy laws and, of course, prices in Canadian currency. There is an affiliate link in the description below. You can sign up for 5 gigs free to try it out. Well, you've seen it. Couples not talking, families scrolling through dinner. Some restaurants are asking, should phones be put away while you dine? Is it rude? Is it disruptive? Or is it just a part of modern life? Let's take a look at the idea and open the floor for your take on that. Eddie, throw it to you for first comments.
Yeah, I don't want to have to duck with my comments, but here it goes. When let's put it this way: when I'm not alone having dinner, and you're with other people in a restaurant and whatnot, first and foremost, at the table I'm at with my guests, if there is one pet peeve, is I get answering an important phone call. That I understand. I mean, it's life. You have family, and there's business obligations. I get that. But when you constantly to check to see if someone sent you an SMS, or somebody put something on Messenger, or swapping your finger through looking for a picture to talk about, or whatever the case is, as opposed to participating in the conversation at the table, that irks me personally. Okay, that is just the way it is. That's number one. Seeing people at other tables with their phones, what they do is their own business. That's number one. But number two, when I look over, you have a party of 4. They're sitting there having dinner, and all they're doing is all 4 of them are staring into their phones. I just don't get it. Are they texting each other their conversations, or what's going on? That I don't get. So, look, just to summarize, so I don't have to duck the whatever's flying at me. You know what? If you're going out for dinner, and you're there to catch up, to discuss things, and whatever else, you know what? I would suggest to our viewers, put the phones away. I know there are emergencies. Put them in your pocket. And unless the phone rings, don't pick it up. Enjoy the company of everyone else. I've seen yahoos in cinemas answering their phones, or responding to a text, or whatever the case is. No, you know what? That's a little much. Have respect for the people that are around you. Or at restaurants where you're being obnoxious and you have 15 people doing the selfie and then bumping into you and just being loud and obnoxious, you know what? That kind of ruins the experience for the other patrons. So I think it's just an ounce of respect would go a long way. Restaurants banning them, I don't know about that. I think the restaurant will lose a lot of patrons if they actually impose any kind of rules where no cell phones at the table. Unless it's a novelty restaurant where they really say you don't come in unless you're checking your phone at the counter. I think that'll be pretty much hard to justify. No, I wasn't. No, I wasn't.
Someone has a guilty conscience, I see.
I guess.
And it keeps popping up. There we go. I think it's gone now.
You're trying to get me in trouble, Gary? What are you doing, man?
Make the snowballs, I'll throw them. Anyway.
What do you think? Well, what's your experience with this?
There was a time when I wasn't really guilty of having my face buried in the phone, but
right.
I might have the phone on the table over to the side. Now, it took a while for me to kind of put the phone at arm's length after I retired. It took a while, but now, there are times that the phone's somewhere here, either in the den or in the bedroom, and I'm not anywhere near it. And that never used to be the case. It was like an appendage,
right,
on my body. But I did not bury my head on the phone while at a social event. And I remember, well, Deborah and I, when we were at Disney World a few years ago, and we went into a restaurant and we sat down and, we were talking back and forth about things we had, some of the exhibits and everything. And a couple came in, and it was an older couple. And they sat down at the table across from us, the two of them. They didn't say a word when they came in. They sat down, they spoke to their server, gave their order. But all from the time, when they walked in, each one had their phone in their hands. They sat at the table, didn't even look at each other. They had their faces buried in their phones. It was the sounds of silence. Server comes with their meal. They eat the meal, the phone's off to the side, and they're still kind of scrolling and looking, and not a word was exchanged by that couple.
Wow.
And I gave Deborah a little tap under the table. And she looked over like, it was bizarre. But here's the other side of it. The question was, is it just now a part of our modern day tech era that we live in, or is it rude? I would suggest it's rude. What's the point of going out for dinner unless you're by yourself and you're just sitting there, you're sitting in a restaurant, no one, and you're just kind of scrolling through. But what's the point of going out with someone else, whether it's your wife, your girlfriend, both, if it's that kind of a relationship, friends? What's the point of going out, even just to have a beer, if you're going to sit there and doom scroll all the time with your face buried in the phone? You might as well just stay home and text back and forth. And very early on, when the iPhones really first started coming out, and they were more consumer mainstream rather than the BlackBerries, and you had texting, I was sitting a couple of times. A bunch of us from work would go out for wings night and be sitting at one end of the table, and somebody would be just, like one chair over on the other side, and they'd be texting me. Okay, it was a novelty at that point, but still, like, really?
Yeah.
Just holler over.
Hey, I'm right here.
Yeah. So, you take your wife
we've had
out.
that at work. You're sitting at your desk, right? And then all of a sudden you have a messenger app that your company uses, and somebody right behind you is asking a question. It's like, I'm right here. Like, I don't know. It's again, it comes down to choice. You choose to look at your phone as opposed to pay attention to the person around you or the people around you. It's just
in some cases it's probably a godsend, because if they weren't scrolling on their phone, they might be one of those loud, obnoxious types that you just want to take and whack them in the side of the melon with a 2x4 just to shut them up.
Yeah.
Manel says, what drives me insane, and I'm not advocating violence. Manel says, what drives me insane is people actually having a phone call while they're on their speaker walking down the street or in an elevator. I don't want to hear it.
Absolutely.
100% on that one, Manel.
Yeah.
You and I agree for sure on that. That, like, really? Seriously, folks? Do you not pay it? No, you're not paying attention to other people doing it because you're too busy on the phone yourself. Yeah. Deborah says, when you get together with family or friends, be present. Life is short. Enjoy the conversation or just be together. I'd only answer if it's one of my children. There you have it. The ladies have weighed in on this. I would love to see what kind of a reaction some of the dining rooms would receive if all of a sudden they said, this is a no phone zone, and you check your phone like you check your coat in the wintertime or on a rainy day.
Mm-hmm.
I would love to see the reaction. And then on top of seeing the reaction, if they actually go through and check their phone and go in for dinner, see how much interaction takes place. You know something, Eddie? I would put money on it that a lot of people would be sort of sitting there staring at each other, not quite sure
Knowing
how
what
to
interact,
initiate conversation or what to do. Now,
because they got so used to having their phone as a companion. They have a table for two.
Yep.
Well, it's actually a table for four, right? Yeah, interesting.
Well, or somebody walks in and they say a table for two, and you go over and sit down, put the phone on the table, and the server comes over and is your other party still coming? Oh no, my other party's already here. My phone,
Right there.
Yeah, my companion.
Yeah, my Chat GPT companion.
Yeah, exactly.
My AI companion.
I can see that happening, but
Yeah.
I think we're losing, and some people are shy. I get that because I have a shy side to me that in social situations, I tend to kind of just step back a bit, and takes me a while to warm up in strange social situations. And I used to just cringe when all of a sudden an invitation would come in. You'd have to go to one of the rubber chicken circuit dinners and press the flesh. Hi, how are you? Lovely evening, blah, blah. All of that small talk. Hated it.
Well, Gary, by the way, next week I'm hosting a pajama party. You want to come over? That'll get you out of your shell.
Oh, Lord. So, unfortunately, this is all just a sidebar of the technology. And it may come to that point, like I do not enjoy, and it's been a long time since I've gone to watch a movie in a theater.
Mm-hmm.
We went to the a couple of the presentations at Disney World and at NASA.
Right.
And the whispering and the talking that was going on, and the phones and Jesus, people, what are you doing? Are you here to hear the presentation? Yeah. If not, get out.
Yeah.
and why would I pay? I don't know what it costs to go to a movie now because it's been that long, but I won't put 5 cents down to go in and have people talk all the way through and talk about what's happening on the screen because they've already watched the movie or they've read all of the reviews and this is coming up and that's coming up. It's the same when you go to a concert and somebody has the playlist from the last 3 concerts. Oh, this is coming up, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to know until they actually start it.
Yeah.
So I guess, as much as I love technology and embrace technology, there are some areas of it where I draw the line, and this is one of them. Put your damn phones away. Enjoy the meal. Help others to enjoy the surroundings, and their meal. How do you enjoy a meal if all you're doing is just, kind of shoveling it in your mouth, not even watching what you're shoveling from your plate into your yap, and scrolling on your phone? Part of like a nice meal is the atmosphere and the presentation of the meal. Well, if you're there scrolling on your phone and TikToking and whatever, and you're just shoveling, you lose a large part of the essence of the experience.
Yeah. Yeah.
You got me wound up now, Eddie. Jeez.
I know. Pajama party it is. Okay.
Then we got a couple of comments to catch up on, and then I guess we
Okay.
should call it a day.
All right.
What happens to the people that are now dating their chat GPT that consider a person that they consider a person when they go out to dinner? Well, yeah, we just addressed that one.
Yeah.
And Nancy comes back with, went to a bar in Aruba off a cruise ship. Sign said, no Wi-Fi, pretend you were on vacation. Loved it.
Well, you know what? Maybe something like that at the entrance of a restaurant, kind of making people feel guilty for taking out their phone. That's all it might take in some cases, right?
Yeah, but some people have really dumbed down over the
Yeah,
years.
yeah, I know. Okay.
Stuck in the
I was being very hopeful.
And the other part of it is they get stuck in the trap of social media, which is not very social in a lot of ways. But
Yeah.
it's just these are interesting times, Eddie.
Indeed.
Very interesting times indeed. And with that, it's a wrap on this week's edition of Night Talk. AI, crime stats, and your phone at the table. These are big topics, big opinions.
Indeed.
And we're just getting started.
And also join us next week when one of the issues we tackle is an absolute Montreal favorite. Yes, the striped orange and white traffic cones. Send us a picture or a short video of your favorite traffic cone display or situation, and we'll feature them as part of our discussions next week.
Yeah. Meantime, remember to like, share, and please subscribe to help grow and expose our stream and channel, I should say, to more people just like you, so we can expand the conversation. And if you're watching the replays, keep the conversation going and leave your comment below. We will respond to those comments as well. Thank you for watching tonight. I'm Gary MacDonald. Good night.
Good night, everybody.